In this video, we're going to be talking about living a divine life. In the face of all the stuff that's going on in the world, how do we live powerfully?
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Hi, David. Hi, Lenka. Thank you so much for making yourselves available. You've been on my channel a few times before, and it's a bit of a departure from what I normally cover. You know, it started off as a crypto channel and then doing politics and economics and, of course, gold and silver. And then lately I've been getting a bit woo-woo because I'm interested in all sorts of useful perspectives. So do you want to say, both of you, introduce yourselves, just say in a couple of sentences, you know, what you're about and where people can find you?
Sure. Yeah, I'm David. I'm David Collins. I used to live in Grenfell Tower. Anyone that's not listened to one of our podcasts before, I was the chairman of the residence group there. I lived on the 21st floor. I wasn't there on the night of the fire. Had that wake-up experience then in 2017. That was my big awakening to what was going on. And then looked at the whole COVID fiasco through, there's another Grenfell coming. And then we're now facing massive collapse of global systems, which again is just exactly the same system as led to the Grenfell Tower fire. So that's probably enough for me. Elaine, could you talk about us or you? Well, I didn't mention our business.
No, you didn't. And you talked about Grenfell, even though Crypto mentioned before that his audience is not necessarily UK audience. So the Grenfell Tower was a big catastrophe in London in the 21st century, which killed a lot of people. So I'm Alenka. I am originally from Germany. I am now living on Gozo, a beautiful island in the Mediterranean Sea. And this is where David and I met and where we founded or booted the Energy Doctors. We offer online training, online ascension training. We do private consultations, and we do groundwork here on the islands because the rock is quite fascinating and has a lot in store for you if you are looking to connect to your Atlantis past lives, for example. And so that's what we do. And I guess the link would be in the description.
Yeah, it'll be below. Energydoctors.net. Was it energydoctors.com?
Yeah.
Energydoctors.com.
Energydoctors.com. Great. Okay, I'll have a link to that. And I do invite you to check out our other videos, and hopefully David and Lenka will continue to come back. And one of the things that I struggle with, and perhaps some people who are watching this struggle with, is this is a different paradigm. I was taught and educated within the Cartesian paradigm, Descartes, that the only thing worth knowing about is that which can be measured. And here we're going to be talking about other forms of knowledge, energy and ascension and astrology, and we're not necessarily talking about astrology, but all that sort of woo-woo world. And I would invite people to try it on. Just consider it, because there's so much to know and discover. Okay, now I asked you, David, to talk about what's going on in the UK and also what's going on in the financial markets. So for people who don't know, we're recording this on Monday, the 5th of August, and on Friday gone, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates, and that's had this knock-on effect. So hopefully this will make some sense to you, David, that they went from 0.1% to 0.25%, which is, they increased it by 1.5 times, right? Now, it's not a lot, but a lot of people, what traders and funds were doing, were borrowing money from Japan and investing it elsewhere.
Right.
But now they have to pay back even more. So you borrow from Japan at 0.1%, you go and invest in the US at 5% or something. But then when your Japan repayments go up, and you haven't got the money to make those repayments, then you have to cash in elsewhere. So you sell your stocks, you sell your Bitcoin, you sell this, you sell that, and everything has a knock-on effect because people were thinking those things were going to go up. Those things were going to go up because more cheap money from Japan was going to flow into those assets, and it doesn't. So it all starts going down. And Bitcoin this morning, I think $52,000, and about a week ago it was about $68,000, which is a much, much better price. and even gold's gone down a little bit. And then we got the Iran threatening Israel because Israel killed a Hamas commander or something, or a Hezbollah commander in Iran, and then Israel bombed Lebanon a few days ago, and so it's all brewing there. And then in the UK, where the British government, like all the other governments that have had that enforced lockdown, this is the thing that I find common. So the European Union, the Anglo-American nations, they all had lockdown and they all have open borders. They've been bringing people in, and it's not like the economies are booming. So then you've got more and more people struggling for the same level of resources. Then at some point conflict breaks out, and so we've got. I actually personally think it's being stoked by the government in order to justify greater centralization of power. More censorship, yep, yay! Digital IDs, yay! Facial recognition, yay! More powers to the police, yay! So that's my take on it. And then I asked you, well, come on and let's chat about it. Tell me what's going on. Come on. And how is it going to work out? And what's the solution, David?
Well, I thought it was peculiar timing that you asked me to speak about this on the channel, because I don't know a lot about politics. I deplugged myself from all of that system 6 years ago, I guess, and I've been on a mission to sort of revolutionize the way that we systematize reality. So I think there's an alternative approach to reality which will deliver spectacular results for people. It's just not the approach that's currently being used.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So what we've been looking at there, all these things you mentioned, right, and is the scarcity reality we live in, right, which is obviously all made up, because there is no scarcity at all. If you look at nature, everything is abundant, and we are natural beings, so everything is abundant. Just that the construct, the society construct, the money construct, the market construct, all this that we live in, right, with having to have jobs and earning money and wanting to do this and buying houses and all these bits, right, that's all made up, and that is all made up in the sense of that there is always a lack. That's the way we feel when we are in our homes, when we are spending time at work and doing all those bits. It's always about, oh, I'm lacking, I have something, no, something's missing, and I gotta get this, and I gotta get the new iPhone, and I gotta get that car, and I gotta have this, and I'm always working towards fulfilling a need, which when you sit in the forest, it all drops off. There is no need for anything, and there is no lack of anything, right? I mean, we don't all have to go into the forest maybe to experience that for a time, but I mean, it's not about necessarily all living in the forest. That's what I meant to say. It's about realizing that where we live right now is a construct. So what we can do is we can say, all right, I don't like this construct, I go live in a different construct, sort of.
That's great, right? And you might ask the question, that doesn't sound so simple though, does it? And how do you go about moving from one construct to another?
Yes.
Now that is the challenge that we all face at this time, is the construct of reality that we've been living inside of for a very long time is broken. And more people are waking up to the fact that it's corrupt. And it leads inevitably to disasters, to financial failures, to bankers bailing themselves out with your money. That's the inevitable outcome of the model. So one has a number of options. One could fight that system. Now, for some people, that is an appropriate course of action at this time, and people will fight over trying to change the system. Nothing wrong with that. Some people choose not to fight. Some people will go to war with each other. Mainly people who are preoccupied with sustaining the current system will now go to war over who gets to keep the resources. So war is almost inevitable now. But there'll be a group of people that choose peace, and they choose not to engage in the current system of hate, division, and separation. That's an entirely different model that they will commit themselves to, and it will take everything in their power to sustain that level of peace within themselves.
Maybe that's extraordinary. And it is going to take that. It's like I noticed for myself these last few years, I've been arguing for a third position. In particular, I suppose it becomes clearer with the wars. You know, I'm not pro-Ukraine. I'm not pro-Russia. I'm not pro-Zionist. I'm not anti-Zionist. I'm pro-peace. We need to sit down and work things out and resolve things peacefully. Right? We've got to stop resorting to war and conflict as a way to remedy solutions because it's no solution at all. We end up killing each other. And I want to go back to something that you said about that they want to rob using our money. They're actually using our energy. They're stealing our energy. They're stealing our labor, our effort. And I'm saying that deliberately, one, because I think that's what money really is. It's a representation of energy, of effort, of work. It's sweat equity, but also because I think you're within that domain. So then, you know, here I am in this system. I don't meditate. I don't want to. I can't be asked. It sounds like hard bloody work. I want a shortcut. I, I think I live a fairly integrous life, certainly more so than I did, in the past or whatever, right? So how do I make the transition? I don't want to do yoga either, and some of this other stuff.
Well, it's worth considering that they're not stealing your energy. That's the first, like to get to first base,
Okay.
one has to consider that one is responsible for one's energy body. So the minute one admits that no one's taking it unless I give it, that's a good place to start.
Okay.
So if I assume no one can take it unless I give it to them, then you can stop giving it to them. You can stop talking about their system. You can start maintaining their system. And then you're left with choices. But you will immediately be faced by all your fears. What will my neighbors say? What will my friends say? What will the bank say? Will I lose my job? Will they take me to court? You will instantly be faced with all the fears you have. See, the only reason the system maintains itself in the face of this disgust that everyone has is because everyone's terrified of the alternative. They're terrified of unplugging themselves and what they might have to face. But the only thing they're really frightened of is what they face in themselves. All their fears, all their dark hates and pains that they've never taken the time to look at. So unfortunately, the pathway here is a lot of pain and discomfort for people, but generally on an individual level. If they wish to take that pathway of peace to create a new society, they're going to have to face all those uncomfortable feelings in themselves, because it's not simple to you can't just displug yourself from the thing that's been operating all this time without some discomfort. At least that's what I discovered, because I went through that process 7, 8 years ago, and it wasn't a pleasant experience to say, I'm not going to do that system of control and hate, because then I had to acknowledge I'd been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
Because as a child, I just assumed what the grown-ups were doing, I should just follow and replicate. So I had to deplug and de-energize and de-pattern and deprogram and de-habit all those habits and programs and procedures and everything I'd learned my entire life, how I should do things, how I should not think about myself and my position in society and my role and where my energy goes and my relationships. I had to take the time for myself to think all that through from a new perspective. And it's that new perspective we want to talk about, because what is possible if we came from a different, a more beautiful and more profound space for how to have a society that works for people? What would that produce if we looked at our lives from a different center?
Those are good questions, worthwhile questions to ask and explore. Okay, so come on then. Well, okay, yeah, that makes complete sense, and I want to refer to something you and I said to you before we started recording. So I've got someone very, very close to me, and they live a very integrous life as far as I can tell, and they're great with people, get on with people, and they're very successful. Plus, I have I'm not going to mention their name, but I have the privilege of being married to them. So what I've seen is whenever she takes something on, she is successful, and things just line up. Things just line up. And a few weeks ago, and we've mentioned the work of Landmark before, but a few weeks ago, I heard a Landmark program leader say that when you live a life authentically, that's authentically yours, then the universe just lines up. Things just happen. And I'm just trying to understand that. And I suppose this is what I've got to, right? So if someone's living in integrity, being true to themselves, being true to their value, being true to their purpose, being peaceful with others. Their relationships with others have integrity, their regard for others have integrity. Then I suppose it kind of like fits, like a tree in the Amazon forest is where it should be, and everything just works to keep that tree alive and sustained and growing and flourishing. So is that what it takes? Is that how this mechanism works?
She comes from a place of love instead from a place of fear.
Right.
A lot of people, like in the system, right? The system that we have or had, that we're still in, does give us a certain comfort, right? That's why it's so hard to sort of get out of it, because it's easier to blame someone else than than taking responsibility yourself and actually going through your shit to step out of that system and out of that false sense of security that it gives us. And so it has a lot to do with fear, right? We're scared of that lawyer, court, and like the consequences coming our way from that system. So a lot of people act from a place of fear, because most of us are always constantly in this state of fear, like someone's taken stuff away from me and it's all going down the drain. Now, if you do that, you live that life differently, and you come from a place of love, then everything changes.
Yeah.
Because you change, first of all, yourself, right? You are changing because you are much more, as you said, at peace. So like relaxed and you come from a calm state of beauty, joy, and love. And that's actually what our life is supposed to be about, being here on this planet, and what the energies of the universe are about. It's a lot of love. So, and if you come from that state, then obviously people react completely different, right? It's, if you look at that example, how you go into a shop and meet people, like, do you smile at them or do you like frown at them, sort of, right? And you will receive completely different reactions. It's quite obvious if we look at it from this simple example. But that has and is an extent that is, yeah, as you said, right? She's successful. She knows what she wants to do because she's always true to herself, and she always comes from this place of love instead of fear.
Yes. Okay, that's good, because I know you've never met her, Alenka, but David, you have. And
Yeah.
she took on a project a year ago, whole new project, completely new, not like anything she's ever done before. And I've been watching. Everything's just been falling in place. Everything's just been falling in place. Things just happen. Like, she wants this, it just happens. She wants this, it just happens. She seems to me like she's some sort of magician, like a good witch, right? She has magical powers, and I don't know how she does it, but it's just incredible to watch and observe. And I can get what you're saying, Alenka, about her coming from love, because I can see in contrast where in places in my life where I come from fear or anger, but the anger is a reaction to the fear that I have.
Yeah.
And a way of sort of me dealing with that, and so I don't get overtaken because I'm afraid. And then what would it be like? I'm wondering if I reliably operated from a place of love, and then a counter argument would be, well, Rich, how can you do that? How can you, they're attacking Muslims and they're attacking white people, and then they're stealing money and they're doing that and they're waging war against this group and they're killing these people and they're abusing these children, abusing these women. How can you come from a place of love? And then I think, well, I suppose it's easy to love when life is going good. It's easy then. But when it really, really matters and when it's needed most is when everything is crumbling and turning to shit.
And that's, you got a point there, when it's needed the most. Because all the people in war and the war makers and everyone else, all they are actually seeking is love. So all I do is when I hear of all these nasty people doing all those nasty things, I bless them from my heart and I send them love, lots and lots of love, because the only thing that will change the way they behave is love. it's not going to be me angry at them or anyone angry at them, because anger makes anger, and all the things, like it just accumulates, right? It just gets more shit, basically. So what it needs, and what solves the problem, is the love.
Yes. And
so even in these times, it's actually more important to love.
Yeah. And the thing that I know about that, when I operate from love, it alters my experience of life.
Yeah.
When I'm operating from love, I'm just much, much happier and more at peace. So I suppose there's all this shit going on around me, but if I'm operating from fear and anger, I have a really poor experience of life. But if I'm operating from love, then I have a very different experience, profound experience. And I'm reminded, Alenka, listen to you, of, I don't know if you know the Ho'oponopono?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono tradition. For people who don't know, this is a Hawaiian spiritual tradition, and it's a mantra that keep saying to yourself, that I would keep saying to myself, which is, if I remember correctly, I'm sorry, please forgive me for whatever it is I did or didn't do that brought this situation to life. I thank you, I love you. And to keep saying that, keep saying that, keep saying that. And then at least, well, it just brings me to peace. Fear doesn't bring me to peace. Anger doesn't bring me to peace. This is the only thing that's going to make a difference, is love. And I know for myself as a social workers, we don't talk about love. But that really is underneath it all.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you look at the world being full of this shit and anger and fear and terror and killing people, if we plant little seeds of love and peace, right, then we do make a difference in our community, even if it's just our 3 people that we meet at work, right? Or we do make a difference, and that makes waves. And that's what makes the peace go about. It's not a loud movement. It's a loving, quiet, peaceful movement. So
Yeah.
And you only need about 10% of the population to inhabit a certain frequency, and everyone else has to just automatically alter. I don't know if it's fluid dynamics or like hydrogen atoms or stuff where it's the Wibble, right? You get to a certain percentage of the population inhabiting a certain frequency or state of heart. Let's use heart rather than mind, and automatically everyone else tunes into that frequency because it's a step up. It's an octave higher than the existing system's frequency. So if you think about the system is occupied with power and control, hate and domination, all those negative states is down here. Frequency of love and understanding and cooperation is up here. The minute 10% get up here and maintain it consistently, it's just an attractor. It's impossible to stay down here.
Okay.
And that's what we're working on.
That's what we're shifting, right? Now we have to talk about the land as well, because the land frequency is rising currently, and it's now on a very rapid uptick. So
hold on, stop. I want to understand what you're saying, right? So the land. So I know about the Schumann's resonance, right, which is the background frequency of the Earth.
Yeah.
I've heard that the Earth has moved above M9 in our relationship to the galaxy at specific points, so we're now exposed to new energies from the center of the galaxy. What's this land frequency that you speak of, David? Dr. Energy. Dr.
Collins. Yeah, I'm doing my best to download the information. So what I understand is the process that humanity is about to embark upon will take about 23 years. We began on Friday. So the Japanese Stock Exchange announcement is very peculiarly timed. It began on Friday. There's going to be a 23-year uptick in energy. There'll be 20% more light available to humankind in about 23 years than there is currently.
Okay.
So what that means, as far as I can tell at this time...
Stop, David. Stop. I have to... So
slow down.
My videos with David and my personal conversations with David, I just have to stop, okay, and let this register and land, right?
Yeah.
Because I got to deal with myself over here. Now,
yeah, me too. I wish I understood it more. I wish I could communicate this succinctly today, right? So this information landed on Friday. So I channel the angelic realms and other beings of light. I've been doing that. I got in touch with them some point around 2018 when I had my realization that the whole system was bankrupt, and I started asking, well, where do I look for my answers? And I could only turn inside, and that led me on a long process, which is a richer and a much longer discussion than we have time for today. but at some point I connected to light and to information coming from elsewhere in the galaxy, and we've been having some extraterrestrial encounters recently, and so there's just way more information available to humankind today than there ever has been. And one of the things they're telling me is there's going to be this increase in the velocity of light on planet Earth. Like things are going to get happier and things are going to get better, but things are going to get revealed as well much more quickly in the coming years, and it'd be much more painful at first.
Yes.
That's speaking about it in human terms. That's one of the interpretations you could have about what is now accelerating since Friday.
Yeah. And I suppose another way of saying it more, perhaps more so in the Cartesian model, more Cartesian line, is that we're having the breakdown of old systems of governance and operating. It's breaking down because it's unsustainable, because the fundamental foundation of it all, in terms of the value exchange represented by fiat currency, is fraudulent, it's broken, it's corrupted. And so everything is tumbling like a building built on a poor with poor second-rate concrete. When the foundation crumbles because it can't hold the edifice on top, it all falls over. And that's what we're going through currently.
So if I can talk about land frequency, right, you could think about it that way. It's like you're using a description of a building built on rocky foundations. Well, if the land starts to vibrate a little bit in a different manner, it's more likely to fall down.
Yes.
And currently, I don't study the Schumann resonance, and I don't know why, because given I'm the energy doctor, I probably should, but I don't feel it's necessary for what our tasks are to do with people. We're not studying that. However, the frequency of Earth is changing, and that's quite clear. And so there's a need for people to keep up now, because the speed of change is going to be so drastic that if they don't sit down and take their time to themselves and reevaluate their life, their lifestyle, their energy force, where they're coming from and where they're going to, they're going to get left behind in this process of change.
Okay, and I can get the land energy changing. I know the Schumann's resonance over the last couple of years, when I have occasionally looked at it, there have been blips and aberrations and sudden changes.
Yes, but no one understands why at the moment, because they don't realize what the activations deep within the core of planet Earth that have been occurring, which will lead to rapid change. So this is not a one-off event, what happened on Friday. There's been preparation by millions of people over many, many years to prepare the land for like it's almost like, wow, if you think of electrical system, it's like the cables have been widened over the last 20 years. There's a preparation for an influx of energy into the planet.
Yeah. And just to build on that, I also note that the rotation of the Earth's core is slowing down. There's changes in the magnetosphere. It's much weaker than it has been, in the last 30, 40, 50 years. And there's more energies coming from outer space, from the galaxy and everything. So it is changing the energetic field, and we are energetic beings, and everything is, and we're all going to get impacted by that.
Yeah, if you think about the Earth slowing down, like there's this moment we're approaching where the reset switch on planet Earth will be flicked. So everything's just grinding to a halt so that it can then shift up an octave.
Right.
That's what's happening currently, electromagnetically. So while there's no physical evidence, perhaps, for what I'm saying, that's all happening on the internal planes. So if you think about everything as energy, there are beings of light capable of altering the energy equations of planet Earth. We're not the only beings in this reality. It's like we physically see what we see in the 3D, but we're all being held in this giant container of love and universal goo, and there are people they're not people, but maybe for this conversation, think about them as people. There are people monitoring and controlling all that state that we're living inside of. And they're just currently just preparing to press the reset switch, and all the energy equations change. So the reality subtly alters. Nothing's going to happen. I don't think they're planning on changing it overnight, like boom, because that's not. It's a much slower, more refined, more individualistic approach to increasing one's own energy and finding out who one truly is. Because we have to remember, this is what they call the time of great remembering. Like we're all going back to our roots here and discovering where we came from.
Right.
And they're not going to go fast either, because you got to give the human a chance to adapt, sort of. because the system we lived in for so long is like embedded in ourselves, and so to get that out, it's a process, and it's not going to go like that.
Yeah, no, and I can see this. I mean, this has been a profound conversation for me, because I've had openings and stuff out of listening.
Say again?
I've had openings and insights out of listening to both of you, because there's a shift over here required with me, for me to make that, so that I'm operating more reliably, more consistently from love to love with love, like in all directions. And I see my work as a social worker, as a child protection social worker, as an act of love. So love and concern for the women and the children that are, it's usually the women and always the children that are being harmed because of interruptions in the love, that not being delivered and getting to them. But then also for me to show that, that the person that I'm dealing with, they're loved, they're human beings, and who knows how they ended up on this path, taking the actions that they're taking. So then, just to finish up, there are some practical steps that I think people can take to get proficient at this. So I'm going to say a few, and if there's any either of you can add as well, I'd appreciate it. So one is, I suppose, practicing various forms of spiritual practice that are loving, like Ho'oponopono, which I have used at various times in my life. That prayer, in all its many variations and forms, whether it's Hinduism or Islam or Catholicism, or I don't know how Buddhists do it or whatever, right? Meditation, acts of kindness, gratitude exercise, taking care of ourselves and of others, which is an act of kindness. Anything else that you can suggest?
Well, you can always check in and like, are you currently like loving yourself and your life? Like, is what you're doing coming from a place of love? And
Yeah.
and that resembles with something else that we say is do nothing unless told to by the divine. And if you're not yet connected to the divine, or you don't know how to, it's always good to check in with your heart. So, like, always checking in. Okay, is there something to do? Like, or because most of the things we do in life is we come from a place of fear, right? We're so well trained in doing, and it's so in our nearly genes. I was going to say genes, right? So to just slow down and come into the heart and check in. Okay, is this like, am I in love right now? Is this good? Like, should I do this right now? Should I say this right now? Things like that.
Thank you, Linka. David?
Yeah, because most of us were either fraught with our own fears or the fears of others. And so one of the things I discovered over the last 8 years is that so many of my actions, like even at work, like people are asking me to do things that they never actually need doing. It's just doing because someone else has a fear somewhere else in the organization. So I basically stopped doing all the things that other people wanted me to do out of fear. I'm still employed and I do a better job and I'm much happier and I spend less time at work than I ever did. So it's not a bad strategy. It's just challenging at first to trust one's heart, that one's heart knows the best route through the situations of one's life. That's a leap of faith for some and involves a lot of trust at first. But it's a process, right? And I firmly believe if one starts to trust one's heart in all matters, one will soon find the heart is trustworthy. And that's definitely a good step in connecting with one's soul, one's spiritual guides. Like, I'm speaking to so many people today and they just want to meet their guides. They just want to get spiritual instruction. They want to see the other side because now they've heard it from enough of their friends who are having those kinds of experiences that they want direct access. I get frustrated that I'm not able to provide that for people when they come to us all the time because their process is their process and they may not have that yet. So what Alenka was suggesting is what I think the best advice is to begin to focus on one's heart and how one's heart would decide in this situation.
Yes.
Now, the one thing I want to add to the conversation today is boundaries. because there is a thing called unconditional love, and there is also a thing called boundaries. And if one doesn't feel safe, one needs to have boundaries. And I simply wanted to put that in the conversation so we don't walk over the fact that sometimes love for oneself is taking oneself out of a certain environment or putting boundaries in place to protect oneself. When one's not able to deal with those extraneous people, it's sometimes safer to just say, I'm not going to deal with these people. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And just a couple of other steps that have occurred to me listening to you both is walk barefoot on the sand.
Oh,
Walk barefoot on grass. Not on manicured like a tennis lawn, but on the earth. Walk
get in the water. Be in the waters.
in water. Okay.
It's really important because the earth is going through a birthing process, and it's the waters that break first. So the earth is designed in a particular way. God, we haven't got time for this. Just bathe oneself in water. It's a really good idea.
Seawater, fresh water, does it make a difference? Natural?
Fresh.
Okay.
Or sea, but like natural waters.
Natural. Okay. Alenka, David, absolutely great talking to you as always. Thank you so much for making yourselves available. I'll link to your website. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the description below. And there is a change coming. There is a change coming. I've known it for a while. I've heard about it for a while. I'm now talking about it for a while. So just trust and embrace the change and welcome it and be part of the change. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your hearts and the hearts of others with love. Crypto, loving David and loving Alenka, saying bye.
Loving you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Love to all.